Good afternoon, friends. Welcome back to Bush Poppy Farm. Hope you are doing well. I am standing here in front and in a bed in the garden that has been neglected for quite some time and got very overgrown. So what you see here is Helichrysum. This is, I can't remember the variety, something licorice, but it's a beautiful plant. This needs to be cut back dramatically. What was here at the bottom was a gigantic patch of lamb's ear that had gotten huge. It flowered, it was coming over into the lawn, and I left it for a long time because the bees were really working it and really enjoying it. But the other night I came out and I did it in the evening because that's the only time I could not have bees on it. I came in and pulled almost all of it out. Now, lamb's ear likes to spread by rhizome, so it will come back through here. I do have a few patches left here, and there's a patch over here. I'm not worried about the lamb's ear coming back, but I did get a couple of plants, perennials, to put in here. In the meantime, what we also have in here are some snowdrop bulbs that come up every spring, which is another reason why it's important for me to pull back all the lamb's ears so they have soil space to come up. And we also have tulips. I'm sorry, not tulips, daffodils in the back. So the first thing I need to do is trim this guy way, way back, make it much smaller. The only irrigation for this bed, and we're hoping to change this over time, is a pop-up sprinkler in the back here. And this shrub blocks all the water for everything in front of it. So I want to cut this much, much lower. As long as I'm not cutting into wood, it's really good. And the nice thing about this is, unlike lavender, it takes a long time for it to get woody. You still have lots of leaves down at the bottom. So it's not this long stems of wood and then the growth. And then we also have a climbing rose over here that probably needs some trimming back as well, but this thing just gets so huge. I have to cut this guy back a couple times a year. I love it. It's beautiful. I love this blue-green foliage, but it is time to cut it back. Once I do that, I need to recut the edges of this bed because, you know, grass and stuff have worked their way in. And then we will go over the perennials we have and place those. And then we'll see how this bed looks. It should look much better. Plus there'll be exposure for the pop-up sprinkler back here so that more things can get water. Okay, so the bed is pretty much prepped. You know, cut the edges again. I've got my hose out here. I got my little mini shovel to dig because I think the digging in here is going to be kind of tough. But we have 3 varieties of plants that are going in. And I had to focus on getting plants that were low growers, like not getting much taller than 8 to 12 inches total. Because again, like I said, that sprinkler back there, you know, has a lot of work to do. And until we get a riser on it, I want to make sure that it can, you know, clear. And so cutting down the helichrysum is going to help a lot. So what I wanted to do was go with, these are all perennials. So there's not going to be huge bang for the buck at this moment, but over time there will be. So I wanted to go with some things that will give us spring through fall color. And so I think the collection here will do that. With helichrysum, since it's, and the lamb's ear, that silvery color, I thought maybe a purple and orange color scheme would look pretty cool. So we have, for the orange, and it's not in flower at this moment, this is Geum Totally Tangerine. This gets 18 to 24 inches in height and 18 to 24 inches wide. The flower color is kind of an apricot orange. It blooms in summer and it wants full sun, partial shade, which is important because this bed gets full sun from the morning until about 2:30, and then it's in shade. So it gets plenty of sun, but then it's in shade for the rest of the afternoon. So I want something that can survive that. Now, because this gets a little bit taller, these are going to be on the outside edges so that they can kind of border the bed and not impede any water flow. And then we've got 2 of these. This is a verbena. It's a prostrate verbena. This one's called Blue Violet. It wants full sun. It goes 3 to 7 inches tall and 3 feet wide. And it can handle a lot of heat. It's perennial in zones 8 through 11. So this is going to be great in the front here. And then on the outside edge next to the steps, and I'll show you in a minute, these woolly sunflowers are going to go. These are California natives, Eriophyllum. This is the common name, like I said, is woolly sunflower, also Oregon sunshine. These are deer, drought, and clay tolerant, so they can deal with almost any soil. They are a California Oregon native and has a low spreading habit, 1 to 2 feet tall, and the width up to 3 feet. This is going to go on our on the edges of the stairs over here. I'll show you in a minute, where it's lower. The soil itself is lower than the yard, and so these will fit in there just fine. Again, California native, so they're totally drought tolerant once they are established, and you can cut these back and get repeated flushes of blooms. So I'm going to place these guys and get them dug. All of the grass and stuff that I chipped up here from the edge, I actually am going to use as a mulch in the back where these guys are going. So that's why I didn't toss it. I'm just reusing it. Okay, I know it's loud because there's lawn machinery next door going on, but we've got our woolly sunflowers in the corners here, the Totally Tangerine geums here, and there's one over there already in the shade, our verbenas here, and then I went ahead and picked up some annuals because these perennials will take a while to really root in and start spreading and looking really good. So I wanted to get some color in here for now. So we've got these really pretty tangerine petunias, and then I'm thrilled that this Calibrachoa goes so nicely with this verbena. I just didn't know. I picked it up on the off chance that it was going to work, and they're great together. Plus, it's got that goldish throat to it that ties into this petunia. So it's nice to have some color in this bed, have it more tidy because it was such a mess with all that overgrowth of lamb's ear. Now in the fall, I will come through and, pull up the annuals and place more spring bulbs, but not daffodils because those get nice and tall. I will put more snowdrops in here, as well as crocus, some of the tinier spring bulbs that will form a nice bed on the front. It was really full of those a couple years ago, like 4 years ago, but they don't naturalize as well here. Daffodils do, and they spread, but the other bulbs, we kind of have to keep re-upping them every year. So I'll do a new batch of that there, and that'll look lovely for spring. And then we'll have the perennials in here that'll be keeping us going spring through fall, and we'll add, a border of annuals on the front every year. So I'm really happy with that. All right, guys, that's gonna be it for today. Hopefully tomorrow I can give you guys the tour of the cottage garden. Things are looking good, looking way better than they did last year at this time. And I think it's because of all the overhauling we did over the winter in preparation for this season, and a lot more planting. So I'm really happy with where we're going at it. So thanks again for hanging out. I hope you have a wonderful time in your garden, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.